Hi, Gateway KSA. My name's Andrew, and I'm from the United States. I'm an affiliate of the National Council on U.S. Arab Relations. However, I studied and recently just graduated from the University of Wyoming, studying international studies with a focus in the MENA region and environmental system science. Uh, I'm hoping to apply to the Gateway KSA program, and really the reason is for that. I studied relations throughout my time at university. However, with a focus in the MENA region, I felt that one gap I always had was sort of getting real comprehensive in-person experience with Arabia and a whole side of their world that I really haven't had that much experience with most of my time having uh, sort of learned about the Levant, Egypt, and North Africa. And so I think that I'm really missing a critical part in what sort of determines the identity of the region as a whole, as well as what is, the Middle East and North Africa today. And Saudi Arabia is perhaps the biggest piece of that. Um, Three ways that I think Saudi Arabia differs from my own home. I think that the dynamic of family is certainly very different uh, in Saudi Arabia versus my own family here in the US. I think it's much grander, it's much bigger, and family relations are perhaps carry much more weight than maybe they do in the United States. I think Saudi Arabia differs also in its economy. I think that the U.S. is certainly not as dependent on one resource as maybe Saudi Arabia historically has been, and I'm curious to see how that is changing with Saudi Arabia today as it changes. And a third way that I think Saudi Arabia differs is um, climate. I'm really curious to see what the climate of Arabia is like in such an arid and perhaps like in the most iconic way. Saudi Arabia, you picture desert, dunes, nomads, camels. I want to know what that's like. Most worried about visiting Saudi. I'm really concerned about sort of that climate. In going there in summer, it will be, if I'm lucky enough to go, it will be probably the hottest place that I've ever been in my life. And I'm really curious about that climate and what it's like to actually experience that in person from my own environmental background as well. Most looking forward to, I certainly think the historic sites are probably on the top of the list for me. Al Ula looks incredible, and I can't even imagine how such a site is hewn out of the rock. Um, as well as just meeting the everyday Saudis. I really think that's the most important thing out of any trip, and I would like nothing more than to just hear, what is Saudi Arabia to them? Something that I think is interesting to ask anybody. Five words that I associate about Saudi Arabia, I would say religion, family, oil, desert, and royal. What I would like to know most while I'm on my visit actually is the impact of climate change on Saudi Arabia in such a state that's so iconic for being dry and harsh in its climate. How does that look today? How is climate change affecting the country? How is that being managed by uh, the government, by the royal family? What are the approaches to that? I'm really curious, like, as Saudi Arabia sort of pivots itself to new directions, how does that also link up with, like, meaningful change for its approach to climate change? In 5 to 10 years, I'd like to see myself in hopefully the State Department. I plan to seek a career in international diplomacy, development, perhaps education. I would love to work in international exchange, whether that was in a business aspect or in policy, governmental aspects, perhaps on energy. Um, and really, I think I've explained this before, but I'm applying to the Gateway KSA program because I feel like I have gaps in my knowledge that I have not seen a better opportunity to remedy than through the Gateway KSA program. Something that really just presents such an opportunity to go and experience Saudi Arabia through the eyes of Saudi Arabia and seeing the important things there, learning about what it is to them, what it is to the government, what it is to all sorts of important critical links throughout the Middle East and the world. And I'm thinking that I can really also bring benefit to the Gateway KSA program simply because not only do I have sort of an understanding of the region that needs to be expanded upon, but I think that I can think about it in a multidisciplinary way, having been both for the last 4 years studying international relations in addition to environmental science. And what does that really look like from a position where I'm thinking about this scientifically, but also in a person to person way? I think that that's integral in understanding any place, but especially so with Saudi Arabia. And carrying that forward, I think that the way that I'm really going to connect this after the program is over, would I be selected, is how do I connect this to the values that the people I meet along the way and in the initiatives that I see? What do those values look like and how do those align with my home? As I'm sitting here before potentially going on this trip, I think that Saudi Arabia and my own home of Wyoming, as well as just the Rocky Mountains in general, share many values that I think would actually connect people a lot easier than one might think. In Wyoming, some of the most important values for anybody you meet is self-reliance, the ability to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the ability to uh, do hard work, be tough, have grit, stick with something, be compassionate to your neighbors. Uh, Really, people describe the state as a small town with long roads, and I couldn't agree more. And I think that Saudi Arabia will, in my mind, be a similar case as a rural place with a huge stress on self-reliance, as a huge stress on family, on links between things, on hard work that they've done. And I think that that's the way that I'm going to bring this forward to my friends and family, is connecting them to those values and to the people, because at the end of the day, it is the people that make the place. So thank you. I thank you for your time and consideration and look forward to a decision. Thank you.